Welcome back, everybody, to the Nosebleed Sports Podcast. I'm Chris Witt. With me, as always, Mr. Adam Schmidt. How are you today, sir?
Doing beautifully. How are you?
Yeah, beautifully's good. If I was any better, I'd be doing beautifully. It is June 19th. It's Wednesday. We are on Facebook Live, as always. It's the Nosebleed Sports Podcast. You can catch us live on Facebook every Wednesday around 10:30-ish. Today's about 10:35. And then don't worry, though, because on all your other favorite platforms, we're live. Not live, but we are up on Thursday mornings. So you can catch us bright and early. On that note, I would like to say that we've got a pretty good show today.
We do. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. It's got we got our two favorite things to talk about: NBA, Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there is one other thing I want to get into. I didn't talk to you about baseball, but get your opinion on later.
Good.
But to start off with, we're probably going to go into the NBA Finals.
Sure. The
finals, though, are brought to you at the Nosebleed Sports Podcast by
Training Personally with Peggy Edwards. No matter your level of fitness, beginner, intermediate, advanced, if you like to be challenged a little or a lot and want the benefit of working with a personal trainer without the cost of a personal trainer, then Training Personally with Peggy Edwards is the gym for you. Training Personally is interval circuit training for all levels with a personal trainer at your pace on your time. Peggy Edwards keeps workouts safe, fresh, fun. Find Training Personally on Facebook or at trainingpersonally.com.
That sounds good. Also, Ohio Mosquito Control. At Ohio Mosquito Control, they offer quality services to the Cincinnati area at a reasonable prices. Family owned and operated. Come to your house, spray for mosquitoes, no bites. Makes the whole weekend great. Ohio-mc.com. They are the pest of the pest.
They truly are.
They truly are. Now, speaking of pests, how about those pesty? Is it pesty or pesky?
Pesky, but if you wanted to go along with the pest theme,
then let's go pesty.
You could just change it up.
Ohio Mosquito Control is brought to you by the Toronto Raptors.
Oh,
the pesty,
so they're brought to you
pesty
by,
Toronto Raptors.
Thank you, Toronto Raptors, for sponsoring Ohio Mosquito Control.
I don't know how that whole thing works. Yeah. We haven't quite figured that out. We actually aren't getting anything for any of this. We just, like to play a little bit.
We like to support our people.
Support our people. So anyway, the Raptors. Kawhi does it. Kawhi does. He sat a year out. He took a lot of crap, and it was all worth it. It was all worth it. He got to laugh again. He got the last laugh.
He did, and he made light of that during the parade. But we'll get to that in a minute. So yes, the Toronto Raptors did beat the Golden State Warriors 4-2 to win the 2019 NBA championship. It was, Kawhi Leonard was the absolute star. You had Kevin Durant. That was the big news. Comeback, Game 5, and got hurt pretty quickly. Tore the Achilles, and then in the first part of the fourth quarter, I believe it was, Klay Thompson went down with a leg injury as well in Game 6, and he was having a great game. He was shooting the ball really well, and I think that would have changed. That game. Can't guarantee it.
Nobody can guarantee it, but I mean, if you're the Warriors in this case, let's say KD picks up his 1-year option for $30 million, which it still seems like it's completely up in the air if he does this or not. He's not playing all next year. But if you're the Raptors, if you're the Warriors, are you pretty much going, okay, you beat us, but we were in this game up to the fourth quarter, and we only had one player out there, basically.
We had one star, basically.
One star and Draymond Green.
Right.
And a hobbled Andre Iguodala.
Yeah.
So
he played hurt all series too.
Yeah. So I mean, I know it sucks for them. And the Warriors are a phenomenal team when they're all healthy and they're all playing together, and I don't know that they probably would have. Who knows what would have really happened? All I know is the Raptors won. But if you're a Warriors fan, you're probably feeling okay about this one, right?
I mean, I don't know that you're feeling okay.
You never want to lose, but at the same time, are you really? Is it that bad? This one hurts less than the LeBron one. LeBron won in Cleveland.
I don't know, because I think you have a lot more question marks going into this offseason, because you don't know what KD's going to do. You don't know what Klay's going to do.
Klay's probably the biggest one, because he's the one that could actually play for you next year.
Right. Yeah. Both of them could, but because Durant can pick up his option. But it's
actually going to be on the court.
You're right. But either way, they have a chance. Max deal. They might have to restructure a few things, but they do have some question marks. They don't know whether KD is going to be on this team going forward. At least they don't know whether Klay Thompson's going to be on this team going forward. They're going to have to make some adjustments, but they are still in a position where they're going to be one of the top teams going into the league.
You think so?
Next year? Yeah, I do.
What if Klay and KD leave?
Then yes, they're going to be. And DeMarcus Cousins is probably not going to be back either, because his contract's done after this year as well. So he's, if both of those guys leave, I guess you can sign DeMarcus Cousins then, and then maybe Bob Myers is going to have to figure out how to structure everything where they can sign another guy to come in with Boogie and Steph. So, but we still have to. We aren't going to know what's going to happen until Klay and KD make their decisions.
Right.
So, but there are some question marks there. So, if you're a Golden State fan, you don't feel great about it. You're probably still okay. I kind of feel like Klay's going to re-sign.
You think so?
I kind of do. Although it would make a lot of sense for if the Lakers can clear that can do what they need to do and clear the space.
How about, nobody's talking about is Dallas. Dallas has already got over $60 million space cleared, and that's including Porzingis and Doncic.
Yeah.
Doncic, however you say his name. Luka
Doncic. Yeah, I say Doncic. I don't know if that's right.
I'm just going to call him Luka.
Okay. You're right.
I mean, that's going to be a destination.
Yep. Dallas could be. It's always been kind of an interesting. I mean, what's his name from the Clippers? DeAndre Jordan decided to sign there. They do. They can. Dallas is a good free agent spot. I believe they have. I think there's like no tax, no property tax or
property
sales tax
luxury,
or whatever it is.
So
there are some draws to Texas teams,
income.
Especially Dallas. Yeah, and Mark Cuban puts a ton of money into the team. So that is another team. You have Dallas and Denver and Portland and Golden State, and Houston thinks they're going to be the number one contender. We'll get to that in a few minutes as well.
Yes. That's a joke of a story right there.
But going into next year, I think the West is going to be even more open than it has been.
Yeah.
I don't think anymore you think, okay, it's Golden State without question in the West. I think they might be a little weaker next year, maybe, and other teams are going to continue to rise. So anyway, we're spending a lot of time on Golden State. Toronto, though,
Toronto's the team that won.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
Toronto won. The Toronto Raptors, and love. Fred VanVleet, Danny Green.
Yeah.
Give me some more. Pascal Siakam.
Yeah.
Now that kid really is going to be a star. If
he is.
This is his team, right? If Kawhi leaves, this is his team.
It depends on because it's
they
really
gonna
Kyle
sign
Lowry's
somebody?
team. If he leaves, it's Kyle Lowry's team until they sign somebody better, because Kyle Lowry is the most senior player on that team. He's been there the longest.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say that, but Pascal Siakam becomes the best player on the team.
Yeah.
The scorer, the go-to scorer.
Yes.
He becomes their go-to.
He becomes that, and I think based on the playoffs and especially the finals, Fred VanVleet may have worked his way into the starting rotation next year, no matter what.
He probably deserves it. Yeah, he probably deserves to start the year off. But I mean, you don't know what you're going to get out of a guy like that, game in and game out. I mean, what was his? I like to know what his stats were for the season compared to the playoffs.
Well, he came off the bench, and he was, he would knock down shots and play defense and stuff. But the way that he played in the most pressured situations at the highest level, I mean, that's, to me, that gives him at least an edge going into next year, where he can take the next step possibly and become the best guard on that team, even over Kyle Lowry.
He and Kawhi Leonard had the best. What do you want to call them? I don't know. What do you do? Speech? Is that a speech or a rally cry? I don't know. When they were at the the parade, those two had my favorite. And Fred VanVleet basically said, listen, as much as y'all hated on us and hated everything that happened, enjoy every second of this. Because they took a lot of heat over the last couple years getting swept by Cleveland. 2 straight years, 3 straight years, whatever it was. It took a lot of heat. That team hurt a lot.
Yeah.
And Canadians are nice.
That's right.
So,
their criticism was
probably a little light, but at the same time, it's like, they heard it, and he made it very clear that they heard that criticism. And Kawhi, of course, when Kawhi came back and imitated his own laugh, that's just, God, I love Kawhi Leonard.
We've seen a few videos from like some of his teammates' Snapchat and stuff like that. That he's still like, even though it's like just pure celebration time for the next week or two,
right?
He is still like, he doesn't really smile very often. He's still very like monotone. He doesn't, he doesn't throw out a whole lot of really high-end verbiage. He just
it's just a hey, what's up?
Hey. He keeps his speaking very limited, even when he's celebrating.
I'm really a fun guy.
Yeah. So it's been kind of funny to see those videos too.
I wish he spoke more. Not because we would make fun of him more, but I think he would get made fun of less if he talked more, because now the only times he does open his mouth, it's automatically made fun of. I think it would be way less if he actually spoke more. What do you think?
That would be interesting. I don't know. From what I've heard from him, it's probably a better idea that he doesn't speak that much. And that's one of the things I like about him too. I like that he's a quiet guy, and I like that he's so, he's pretty humble. He's not beating his chest and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I really like Kawhi, and this is really interesting because he was probably rented for a year. I mean,
100%.
He's he hasn't made his decision yet. He could still, I think he still has an option he could pick up to stay with the Raptors, I believe. But if he decides to become a free agent, he's got
to make the decision by the 29th. I mean, it's right around the corner.
Right. And so he's got to decide whether he wants. Now, the way that Canada, the entire country of Canada, has treated him this year, and especially in the last few weeks, that guy has an entire country in the palm of his hand.
And look at the East right now. The East is falling apart around you. Boston is falling apart. That was the one team that you thought was going to be in it this year. That was going to give them the run, the talent that was on that team. Mm-hmm. And that team's falling apart. Al Horford's gone. Kyrie's gone. Al Horford, whatever's going on, he
declined his
option, and he is not re-signed. That's another guy, man. That Dallas would be a great spot for him. He could be the old man with a bunch of young cats, you know what I mean? And they've got so much cap room. But anyway, that's besides the point. What I'm saying is the East is falling apart around him. There's not a lot of good teams. There's good teams. You're not happy with what I'm saying. Go ahead.
No.
Tell me what you think.
Because the East, I was more excited about the East than the West this year, to be honest with you. And
sure. You get with Philadelphia and Boston and
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee.
Great, yeah.
Okay, so you got Milwaukee, obviously, the best team in the league. So Milwaukee's there. But you take a team like Philly, who ends up fighting with themselves, or it seems like a giant argument, or they're not fighting with themselves, but with the media and everybody else. Boston. God, that team's about gone. It's going to be 2 or 3 years before they make this thing back up. I mean, Gordon Hayward's going to be your number one player, and that's not a bad thing because we don't know what he's going to be from that horrific injury that he took. We have no idea what he's going to come back as. He still probably wasn't fully healthy when he did play this year. But so what I'm saying is it's you and it's Milwaukee, in my eyes.
Yeah,
so
possibly.
That makes things a little bit easier than trying to go to a Clippers team and fight against now AD and LeBron in LA with you, and which he's fine with that because he'll be the second fiddle on a second fiddle team. He doesn't want anybody to know who he is. But you got everybody else in the West. The Rockets are still not bad. Who knows what's going to happen with the Warriors? But there's a lot of talent in the West still.
There is. And you're right. I mean, you brought it up. All the talk about several guys that are becoming free agents, especially Kawhi, have been talking about going to LA, but going to the Clippers. And if they can sign Kawhi and they have room to sign 2 or 3, I believe they have all that cap space too. Room to sign 2 or 3 stars or at max guys at least. You're talking about them right there with everybody else going into next year.
But who's going there? Like where? So who is that guy? Who's that guy? You got Kemba Walker out there right now. Mm-hmm. You got Klay Thompson. You got Kevin Durant. Well, take Kevin Durant out because this is for next year. Well, no, leave Kevin Durant in there. Sure, Kevin Durant, Kawhi Leonard. Who am I missing? There's one more big one out there, or maybe there's not. Maybe that's the ones. It's KD. I was thinking because of Anthony Davis. So KD, Klay, Kawhi, and Kemba. Man, that's it.
And there are some other guys that are.
Yeah, but you're talking about max deals. You're talking about you need somebody else in there anymore. I mean, they showed that they could win it without having 2 superstars. They had a star in Kyle Lowry, and they had Kawhi Leonard, who's might be one of the top 3 players in all. Well, he's the best 2-way player in basketball. Probably the top 3, 4 all-around players in basketball.
Certainly.
So that helps, but you almost need it. You gotta have something. You gotta have something else.
They have. First of all, the Clippers were already a pretty good team last year. They were. Even after they traded Tobias Harris to Philadelphia, they finished the season pretty strong. They had a nice year. So they already have some talent there, and they have room to add. If they add Kawhi, who wouldn't want to go play with Kawhi Leonard? I feel like
everybody would like to play with Kawhi Leonard. I feel like it's the exact opposite of James Harden or Chris Paul.
Right.
I feel like nobody wants to play with those two, especially themselves, and everybody would want to go play with
Kawhi Leonard.
With Kawhi.
Yeah. Especially coming off the way he played and coming off that, but his style, I mean, he can play. It seems like he can play with anybody. It would be a good idea to give him a great point guard and to give him some shooters around him. And the Raptors proved that. I don't even know that you have to have a great set. I mean, they had Serge Ibaka was pretty good. Marc Gasol was probably the pickup of the trade deadline,
without a doubt. That guy played out of his mind in the playoffs. And it wasn't like he was a superstar, but he played great minutes for them.
Yep. And you saw, I mean, you have guys that can knock down. Danny Green actually didn't have a very good series, but he's a shooter that's going to spread the floor. You have to go guard him, no matter, even if he misses 10 in a row, you have to go guard Danny Green.
Yep.
Fred VanVleet, the way he shot the ball, a bunch of these guys. Norman Powell came in and shot the ball really well a couple games. You have put a couple shooters around him, give him a good point guard. You're still probably going to run the offense through him a lot. I mean, it's almost like a LeBron situation now, where you can give him the ball. He can start with the ball at the top, at half court, and
he makes the
right
right play
the offense.
And make the right play. Not like a James Harden who's just the ball's going to stall there. Mm-hmm. He will make the right play and get somebody a shot, get himself open on the other end. I agree. I think he's definitely the second or third best player, but the first best player in all of basketball is definitely LeBron James, right?
I'm no longer willing to agree to that.
Who is the best player in basketball right now?
That's real.
Don't say Kawhi. Don't say Kawhi, because if you would, because
at this very moment it's Kawhi Leonard.
A month ago we would have said it was who's from
Giannis?
No, from Portland. Good night. We had him. Come on.
Damian Lillard?
Damian Lillard is the greatest basketball player. We had him as a top 5. We had him as a top 5 player in the NBA.
Top 5 maybe, yeah. After they beat Denver and went to the Western Conference Finals, yeah. Yeah, we probably talked about him as that. But he was never the best player.
I can name 5 right now better than him.
Better than who? Damian Lillard?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think I can too.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis might be more valuable a player than LeBron right now.
Anthony Davis. Oh, okay, I'll give you that. Anthony Davis is just fun to watch. Mm-hmm. You have this guy. I'm going to tell you, LeBron and Anthony Davis running a little pick and pop at the top of the key is going to be almost impossible.
I hope they roll more than pop, but yes.
I'm telling you, it's going to be a lot of pick and pop, but pick and roll, same difference. It's just what it is. Either way, either one. Well, there will be more rolls because if LeBron's setting it, he's rolling, and if AD's setting it, he's picking, he's popping. It should
be the opposite.
It should be the opposite, but that's just how it's going to be. I mean, AD's probably a better shooter than LeBron, right? Is he a better outside shooter than LeBron?
No, I wouldn't say better. I would say neither are great. They're both okay. LeBron might be a little bit better outside shooter. Neither one of them should be shooting a lot of three-pointers.
Either way, LeBron and him together on that pick and roll, pick and pop. You have two guys, a great ball handler in LeBron James, underrated ball handler in LeBron James, an underrated ball, well, maybe not underrated, but a good ball handler. I'm just going to tell you he's underrated in every aspect of the game.
I don't think LeBron's a very good ball handler, but he handles it well enough to score or pass the ball. So
he handles the ball quite a bit, and his turnovers, I mean, they're not great, but it's
his usage rate is way up there, so he's going to turn the ball over a lot.
Exactly.
He's not a great ball handler.
All right. Well, AD might be a better ball handler. AD grew up as a point guard. He came. I mean, in high school he was a point guard, and then he grew out of his shoes.
He grew like 8 inches in 3 months or something like that.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous. I don't know. I think these two together could be a lot of fun to watch because both of them, I feel like they both could share the ball well. They both could take over a game whenever they wanted, and they both are the type of player that will understand it. LeBron understands if you're hot, I'm feeding you, and I feel like AD is that cool, calm, collected guy. Like I don't care who you want points, I get points. Let's just go win some ball games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless it's an all-star game and he's trying to break records.
Right. That's the bottom line. They both do want to win, and I think they're both far enough, especially LeBron in their careers, where they understand. And LeBron, with the championship pedigree that he's had, he understands better than anybody what it takes to win basketball games, and especially in the playoffs, and he's going to facilitate that for he's going to be basically the coach of the team.
Yep.
Sorry, Frank Vogel, but LeBron is going to dictate what goes on the floor a lot of the time, which is usually okay. Doesn't always work out as well as you would like it to. Sometimes he needs to be reined in a little bit. Everybody does, but
is AD the kind of guy that can rein him in? Because it's not going to be Vogel, right? Frank Vogel's not going to rein him in.
No, I have a.
Is it Jason Kidd?
I was just going to say I feel like LeBron will be more in tune. Will be more about dealing with Jason Kidd than Frank Vogel. For whatever reason, I just get that feeling. It was like
as
that.
an ex-player kind of a guy.
Yeah,
and with Ty Lue instead of the Russian guy.
Right. David Blatt. Yeah. So I think so, and the other Lionel Hollins, who's been a coach several times, he's on the staff as well. So I think LeBron, they put together a staff of three established successful head coaches.
Successful?
Yes.
Well, you putting Jason Kidd in the successful range on head coaches?
He
didn't he win 16 games or something like that one year?
Yeah, but he also, the first year that Milwaukee took a big step forward and became a lot better, he was the coach of the team then. And then they had a year or two where they kind of had a step back, and that's when he was let go. But he really did. He was huge in the development of Giannis Antetokounmpo. He will tell you that. And
sure, I'm sure he will because he wants a job.
Giannis
will tell you.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So I think a lot of guys respect him. I don't know how great a coach he really is, but a lot of players respect him. He's a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest point guards to ever play, one of the most cerebral players to ever play the game. So between Lionel Hollins and Frank Vogel, who Lionel Hollins had a bunch of great years in Memphis, Frank Vogel had a bunch of great years with Paul George and the crew. With Lance Stevenson, and then he had a couple guys like Paul George or whatever, but
Paul George,
mostly Lance Stevenson in Indiana.
Couple good years out of David West and
David West and Lance Stevenson, the Cincinnati guys. So anyway, those guys, they really did put a pretty good staff together. If everybody can work together and they work it out, because it's going to be like a team where you're going to have disagreements in philosophy or game plan and stuff like that, and you are going to have that between coaches and coaches, between players and coaches, players and players. That stuff happens all the time. But if they can work it all out, and by the way, they've got a lot more work to do to get this roster together. Because look,
they got they have 3 guys on this team. It's Kyle Kuzma, it's Anthony Davis, and it's LeBron James.
I think it's actually 6 guys under contract on this team.
Is it 6? I
know what you're saying though.
They have basically 3 guys, but at the same time, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, me, you, and a bag of chips could go to the Western Conference Finals.
I don't know. I really think even with the 3 they have that you mentioned, they still, and that's kind of one of the things with the Anthony Davis deal that they did pull off, which, by the way, maybe we should talk about that. Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and 3 first-round draft picks.
3 first-round draft picks,
including the number 4 overall pick this year. Tomorrow.
They have the number 1 pick, and we're not going to talk about too much about the draft, which is tomorrow. If you're listening to this, it's going to be not live, which would be the earliest you could get it is tomorrow, which would be today for you.
It's on Thursday, June 20th.
If you really want to get into this conversation, we can twist your mind around until you can't see straight. But we're not going to get into too much draft because we don't.
But it is really important because of the way people trade draft picks.
And this is so I do want to ask you this. Let's talk about this because maybe it's let's write it down. What you think is going to happen.
Okay.
So the Pelicans are 1-4. Okay. Mm-hmm. 1, 2, and 3 are said to be far and above everybody else in this draft class. Okay. So you got Zion Williamson, John Morant, and R.J. Barrett. And that's pretty much 4 to like 8 or 9, 10 are pretty well in that. They're all kind of together, right? They're the same talent. I mean, obviously not the same talent, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So with them having 1 and 4, you're only gonna get one of those top 3. It's gonna be Zion, right? Zion goes first.
Right.
John Morant goes, and R.J. Barrett goes. You either go with the other little point guard that only played however many games this year, starts with a G. I can't remember his name.
Darius Garland.
You take Garland, or are you using that fourth pick now to possibly go after a superstar to put with Zion Williamson?
Well, they already have a superstar to go with him. It's Lonzo Ball. I don't know if you saw his dad on TV the other day.
I try not to.
So do I.
Try not to see his dad.
So do I. He made some sort of comment to the gal that was the host of the show, who was, by the way, Jalen Rose's wife, and it was probably a little overblown. People kind of gave him a hard time about it, and I don't know that he really meant it, but it was like, she said, like, can I switch gears with you for a minute? And he's like, you can switch gears with me anytime, or something like that. And I don't think really in the moment.
Oh, no, he meant it the way that he said it.
I would
have said it.
I don't want to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Because I'm 100%, you can switch gears with me anytime you want, sweetie.
Whatever.
Let's go.
Whatever.
I would say that to the man.
You're lucky that Jalen Rose is such a docile guy, and he's not gonna fight anybody.
Jalen Rose got a kick out of that. I can almost guarantee it.
I
bet he was laughing at that.
I'm sure. But anyway, how did we get so far off?
I have no idea. We said we were not going to talk about LeVar Ball on this show.
Okay, we will. Did we say that?
Like a year and a half ago.
Okay. Well, I've forgotten that, obviously. So let's get back then to Anthony Davis. They're going to need more, I think. Anthony Davis and LeBron James and Kyle Kuzma can take you pretty far. But I think they're going to have to put together a roster, and they're going to have to do it like they did the first time in Cleveland and in Miami, where you need You need shooters around LeBron. You really do. And especially if you're going to run pick and rolls, pick and pops with those two guys, that's going to draw defenses in from the corner and from the wings, and you're going to have guys open.
It's shooters are the biggest thing. If you don't have shooters, it was proven this year with this Lakers team. They didn't have a shooter to go on that team, and they were not good. It took everything LeBron had to keep them in that 4 seed until he got hurt.
Yep.
Literally everything he had, because they didn't have anybody that could knock down a shot to save their life.
No.
So where you're at right now, you got your big man, you got your point forward or whatever you want to call LeBron, you got a guy like Kyle Kuzma who's a good young talent. You need shooters. I think that is shooters and maybe a point guard.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a great point guard. It just needs to be somebody that is smart enough to get the ball moving where it needs to go.
You know who would be perfect for that? What you just described?
Who's that?
The Utah Jazz just traded for Mike Conley, meaning they are going to let their point guard from last year, Ricky Rubio, walk because he is a free agent.
Think about that. That really would be great.
A guy
Ricky
who is
Rubio.
who's definitely one of, if not the best passer in basketball, doesn't have to score, has become a better scorer and a better shooter over the last couple of years, but
a lot.
doesn't
he reminds
have
me
to.
of like a Jason Kidd. A lot like a Jason Kidd.
A Jason Kidd, and also
Bigger.
a Rajon Rondo, who they could re-sign. Who I think that would be a pretty good idea. He's not great in the locker room. I understand that. He doesn't get along with people.
I'd rather have. I don't want somebody. I want to get rid of. If I'm the Lakers, I want to get rid of everything from last year. I need to erase last year. I need to erase. I got AD here, right? We got him here. He's here. It's LeBron and Anthony Davis. I don't want anything in my locker room that can affect the chemistry that we have at this point in time. Ricky Rubio's not going to walk into a locker room and screw it up.
No.
Rajon Rondo can easily walk into a locker room and screw it up.
He can, but he is much less likely to do that if you are winning. If you're winning, he'll be okay.
And he's playing.
But that's my point. If they could, I don't think it would be a bad idea to re-sign Rondo to get the bulk of the minutes at point guard, because he is going to find you can run pick and rolls with him all day long and have AD or LeBron playing on the wing, run a pick and roll with one of those two guys, and then they collapse on whoever he's picking and rolling
and
with.
You got your shooter,
and then you have
popping into the corner,
you have a
corner,
shooter
or pop
somewhere,
into a wing.
and or you have either AD or LeBron on the other side of the floor to kick it to as well. So you can do so many different things, and he's right there with Rubio as a passer, a distributor, a guy who is smart about getting the offense going and knows how to get everybody involved, get in
but you
make
never
winning
hear
plays.
You never hear anything about Rubio in a negative context.
No, except for like not being able to shoot and stuff like that.
Okay,
and
guess
maybe
what?
not
That's
being able to
Rajon Rondo right there. So
Right, exactly.
So I would rather have a guy who gets no negative attention at all ever, except for maybe that he can't shoot, than have a guy who already can't shoot and then has the very high potential of causing issues elsewhere.
Also has won a couple of championships and has been the point guard on championship teams that I know had Kevin Garnett, and I know had Paul Pierce, and I know had Ray Allen, but he was a
big part of it.
Vital
What has he
piece
done
there.
since he lost those three? Where's he gone?
He
has these spurts. He has spurts where for half a season it's like, oh my God, it's the old Rajon Rondo's here.
Because
and then he's walking up and down the court later.
He's been on bad teams, and that's the thing. That goes along with, if he's on a bad team and they're losing, he might mess your locker room up. He might quit on you. Yes, he's not going to be a good teammate in that case. If you're winning, if you have the players to win,
I just don't want it. There's too much of a possibility for AD to get hurt. He's always been injury prone. Not always, but at least for the last 3-4 years now, he's been injury prone. LeBron showed that he is susceptible to injury now. So if one of those guys go down, you may be back in that situation where you're a bad team. Why have him there to make it worse? If that happens, get him out. Now you're getting AD. Let's say LeBron gets hurt and that team goes on a stretch where they lose, I don't know, 8 out of 10 games. And now Rajon Rondo's your point guard, and AD's still there, but Rajon's pissing everybody off because he's doing this, that, and the other. You got a guy like Ricky Rubio who might actually do the opposite and pick the team up and get the boys moving a little bit more. I mean, I don't know his personality exactly, but I know Rajon Rondo's personality.
As a player, though, I don't think he's going to do anything better than Rondo will. On the floor, I don't think he's going to do anything.
I'm not saying he's going to be better, but I'm not saying he's going to be worse. They're going to be the same player, basically, only you have one less factor to worry about with Ricky Rubio.
And
you're the one who brought him up.
And I think, I think both would make sense. If they don't want to sign Rubio, I think re-signing Rondo, who you can probably get cheaper, by the way.
Right. As a Lakers fan, I don't want Rajon Rondo on my Lakers.
Lifelong Lakers fan, Chris Witt.
I never one time said lifelong Lakers fan. I am a LeBron James fan, which makes me a Lakers fan right now.
I totally understand. Speaking of, Rondo, Rondo's had bad history with teammates. He's had bad history with other players in the league because he's just kind of a jerk. His biggest rival, his biggest personal rival, is another guy who is very similar to him.
Yes.
With the attitude, with the personality, really digging at his teammates, getting under people's skin, both his teammates and opponents. Chris Paul.
Yep.
So we heard a few days ago that there was some talk about Chris Paul and James Harden weren't getting along, didn't care for each other. They got beat again for the fourth time in 5 years by Golden State in the playoffs. Frustration, of course, pours out after that, after you lose in the playoffs, and especially when you have guys that are as competitive as Chris Paul. I hate to say competitive because people use that as an excuse to let people off the hook for being jerks. But
I think there's a difference between competitive and a jerk. I don't think it's that small of a line either.
But a lot of people use that excuse for why players are jerks because they're so competitive. I feel like I hear that all the time.
I'm okay with that because of like the way Draymond gets talked about like that a lot.
Right.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah.
I can understand that.
So we have seen plenty of instances. We had the spitting incident. They got in a big fight this year.
Oh yeah.
Where Rajon Rondo spit in Chris Paul's face, and they threw punches, and we talked about it then. Right. Both guys have personality flaws that make them hard to be around. Chris Paul and James Harden, like I said, they were talking about it in the media. It kind of came out. It leaked out. And then Daryl Morey went on Golic and Wingo on ESPN in the morning and tried to clear it all up and said what any general manager is going to say in that situation. This is so overblown. Those guys are fine. Yes, they got at each other and stuff out of frustration because they're so competitive, because they want to win so bad.
We had this conversation. I was calling it two players that were competitive.
Right.
At the same time, I'm not a big fan of.
But at the same time, so Daryl Morey said, look, we're going to be fine. We're going to come back the favorites in the West next year, is what he said, because they're going to be aggressive, and he's given the green light to spend all this money and sign whoever they need to sign and make whatever roster moves he needs to make them better, like they've been trying to do for the last 5 years. And then a day or two after that, you had another article come out with a lot greater detail about what's going on in the Rockets organization, especially between Chris Paul and James Harden, how they were just grinding at each other all year long in practices and games, little petty stuff, getting under each other's skin, not agreeing on style of play. Chris Paul does not like how James Harden plays. James Harden wants Chris Paul to take a back seat and let him play his style, his I'm going to stand here and lull my defender to sleep and then either attack the basket and finish at the basket, drop it off, and James Harden averages 10 assists a game, drop it off to Capella or one of the shooters, or take a triple step back three, right? That's how James Harden wants to run the offense. That's hard for Chris Paul. He's not used to running an offense like that. He's used to being in charge of how the pace and everything that goes along with running an offense. They don't disagree on philosophy. They both have gone to Mike D'Antoni about it. They probably, neither one of them, I'm sure, like how D'Antoni is handling that because they want him to rein in either one, the other one. So there is, and you can see it. I mean, we already know guys don't like playing with Chris Paul, or that has been the case in a lot of cases. James Harden can be a guy who can make you better if you're one of those guys that can stand out there and shoot, because he's going to draw a lot of attention when he gets in the paint.
Yep.
He will find you. He can also dominate the ball a little bit too much and take guys out of the offense as well.
Yeah, lull your own team to sleep.
Exactly. We heard so one of the things that was said in this article was after the loss to Golden State in the playoffs, Chris Paul went to the front office and said, "I want to be traded. You need to trade me. I'm done here." Of course, out of frustration.
Sure.
James Harden apparently, from sources, we don't know what sources.
Oh, the sources, right? Sources,
that was the problem with this article.
Sources close to the team say
it was an ESPN article, so it's a reputable publication.
Sure, it's a reputable publication, but it could be the security guard outside of the locker room.
Right. We don't know who the sources were. It could be his grandma who watched some TV, watched Rockets games. But no, it did say league sources close to the Rockets.
Security guard right outside the locker room was pretty close as close as you get.
That's true. James Harden went in and said, "He goes or I go."
I mean, that's pretty easy though, right? If you're the Rockets, do you want a 31, 32-year-old Harden, or do you want a 34? That's all that Chris Paul is 34?
Yeah. He's 34.
How old is Harden then? Is then Harden's probably like 28, 29.
I think he's 30.
Okay, either way, which one do you want? Do you want a Harden who's at the prime of his career right now?
I want James Harden who's an MVP.
Exactly. Or do you want Chris Paul who's at the end of his career?
He's
still very good. Yeah. He's still very good. Don't get me wrong. That he's phenomenal. He's still one of the best point guards in the league.
He'll be a Hall of Famer. If his career ended right now, he'd be a
first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
So, but that's easy for me. I mean, that's easy. That's why he went in and said it's him or me, and Chris Paul just went in and said you need to trade me because he knew James Harden ain't going anywhere.
They're not. I don't think they're looking to trade either one of those guys. No matter if they demand a trade or ask for a trade or whatever. If they demand a trade and he's going to be a malcontent until then maybe you have to trade Chris Paul.
Right, but you got to see how the season starts first.
Maybe. Apparently, Chris Paul has reached out to James Harden several times during the offseason since then to try to mend the situation a little bit. James Harden has not responded.
Dude, James Harden reminds me, he seems to me like a troll under a rock or something. His teeth are jacked up.
Oh, man.
All right, I ain't going to mess with the dude's teeth. That's on him. I mean, he's got the money to get porcelain veneers if he wants to, dude. Go get you a big old grill or something. Do something with that.
Platinum grill.
Anyway, every time you see him outside of basketball, it's never a good story. Never.
Really?
Now, when was the last time you saw a story about him outside of the NBA, outside of an NBA article about his play that was ever good? No, it's he signed with Adidas or whatever, but he's wearing Jordans and he's drunk off his butt, hanging out with a Kardashian, falling over. He's paying a bouncer $10,000 to go beat up Moses Malone Jr. because Moses Malone Jr. made fun of him for charging $250 to inner city kids to be in his basketball camp. So he paid some guy $10,000.
I didn't know that, but I love Moses Malone Sr. so much that now I hate James Harden.
Yeah, James. Well, it's said
hate.
that when Moses Malone Jr. got beat up, it was the day after he made the comments about the camp, and the
That
guy,
could be any James
the
Harden
bouncer,
fan.
the bouncer said the reason they were beating him up was because of that, and apparently there was 10 grand involved somewhere. Somehow James Harden got out of this, and the guy who beat him up got 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Because he stole like 50 grand worth of jewelry or something like that. So.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Well, that's
so he hired a criminal to perform a criminal act. Either way, the guy's going to jail.
Either way, the guy's going to jail. But the thing is I'm not a fan of this. James, they're all at a strip club. They're at the same strip club hanging out. Somehow, they're all at that strip club. This dude was the bouncer at the strip club who was known to always hang around James Harden. Now he's beating him up.
I feel like stuff like that, maybe not exactly that thing, but stuff like that happens more than we know. Of course, basketball players hanging out.
But is that okay?
No.
Is it okay to pay somebody 10 grand to go beat up some other dude because he said something bad about you?
No, I'm kind of talking more about the strip club thing. I mean,
that's all the time. I just wanted to make the point that they were in the same place that night before it happened.
Gotcha,
the fact that it was a strip club, I mean, that's just NBA. That's just where the NBA hangs out, right?
Yes. Getting back to the actual story, though, there was also a report that those two did not speak to each other for 2 months during this season. You know how hard it is to keep chemistry going on the court when you don't. I mean, I'd
have to see the tape because I'm pretty sure those dudes were talking on the court.
On the floor. Maybe that was just off the floor.
Sure, that makes
Either
sense.
way,
yeah.
You are the two superstars of this team, and you don't speak at all. I mean, you don't. Every single locker room in every single professional sport has people that don't like each other. It happens.
Sure.
It's everywhere. But for those two guys to be so upset with each other that they don't even speak off the floor for 2
That's
months,
crazy.
That's a very long time.
And you're the best two players on the court for your team.
Absolutely. And what you guys do, the way you play together, the way you handle, the way you interact with the rest of your teammates too, because that can divide a locker room. That you suddenly put the rest of your teammates and even coaches in a position where they might feel like, oh man, if Chris sees me talking to James, they can't stand each other. They aren't talking. If Chris sees me talking to James, Chris is going to be mad at me. I'm not going to get the ball. He's going to shut me out. If James sees me talking to Chris, I'm not getting that pass.
Here's the deal. Those two are way too good at basketball players to make something like that get that petty on the court. I don't think I think they are, because they're giving each other the ball. I think they're too good to let that kind of thing happen, though. I think that's maybe the teammates feel that way, but they shouldn't, because those two are way too professional to let that disagreement between them become a petty argument of you like him, he likes you, I'm not giving him the ball on a court.
But the point is, if your teammates feel like that, you're putting them in a position where they might feel like they have to choose a side, or they're in a position where they want to be careful about not favoring one guy over the other because they can't stand each other. And we talked about the philosophy on the court. It may have made a difference because I can see a situation where Chris Paul gets so frustrated with the way James Harden plays that he brings the ball down the floor and just throws it into Clint Capella or kicks it over to a shooter or something, instead of giving the ball to the best individual offensive player in the league.
I mean, I guess I just don't. I feel like both of those two are, when they're on the court,
you would hope, but their personalities
say otherwise. I don't know.
Either way,
I don't like either of them. I take that back. I like Chris Paul. I like Chris Paul as a player.
I like watching both of them play.
I'm not a big fan of James Harden's style of play. I think the guy's a phenomenal basketball player, and the things he can do with the ball, the tough shots he makes are ridiculous. Tough shot making ability, if that's a thing, he's up there with Kyrie Irving as one of the best in the league. But at the same time, I'm not a big fan of just his style and everything he does, where I really like the way Chris Paul plays, mostly because he had a lot of assists to David West back in the Charlotte days.
Besides this, you have your two superstars going at it. You have your head coach, Mike D'Antoni, was in contract negotiations to extend his contract beyond next year. That fell apart. He left the table because he was frustrated because they couldn't come to an agreement.
That stuff happens all the time. That could easily come back and make things.
It could, but he could also coach all of next year as a lame duck coach who thinks, I have no idea if I have a job in this league next year. That's going to be on his mind all year if they don't come to an agreement before then.
Well, then you better coach the best year of your life so you can get it.
He's going to. I mean, I have no doubt that he's going to. He has his certain style that he coaches,
which has never worked. And
it's high octane offense. You're going to score 115 points a game. Are you going to stop people enough though? That's the question. But he had a ton of success in Phoenix. He had not so much success in New York.
Think about this real quick. If this team 2 years ago makes 1 3 in Game 7 against the Warriors.
1 out of the 27.
1 out of the 27 in a row they missed. I think Hardin made 2 threes in that game. He was 2 for 13. He makes 1. Paul didn't play. Can't blame him. Any of the other rum-dum shooters they stick out there that their whole job is just to shoot threes when you get the ball. One of those go in.
You're playing in the finals. You might have won a championship last year.
And now we're talking about some crazy turmoil. This team's falling apart. It amazes me how close you can be. Because if you win a championship, that team comes together no matter what, right? You won a championship. It's almost like an automatic. I love you. You're we're in love
in the moment.
In the moment, sure, but it also eases things that maybe might have been there before.
I agree.
And things maybe don't get as bad as they got. It just
Absolutely.
Amazes me how one shot can turn a team from being a perennial championship team to falling apart in front of our eyes.
That brings me back to what I was saying about Rondo, and the same applies to Chris Paul and James Harden and several other guys in the league. Winning cures everything, and losing magnifies all of the negativity so much.
And it seems like losing magnifies it more, not when you're just a losing team and you suck and you're the worst team in the league, but when you are a really good team and then you come this close and then lose. I feel like that's when this stuff gets magnified the most. And it's usually because that's the best players and the biggest egos and things like that are playing. So that's probably a huge reason why, but I don't know. I feel that.
I like that we were at a certain level in our discussion.
We did drop. I did bring it down, didn't you? You like the way? It's pace, man. It's pace. It's tone. It's cadence.
I love the way you did that. I'm so much more relaxed than I was 75 seconds
I could feel
ago.
you getting a little excited about Rondo.
Yeah. I mean, we were deep into the conversation. I was feeling it.
I feel like
right now you bringing it back down.
I feel like right now we should have some Marvin Gaye on in the background.
I love Marvin Gaye. I feel like we might. I feel like we're doing this on NPR right now.
Yeah, this is definitely an NPR radio show. This is tone for that.
Let's while the tempo is down, let's adjust to a little bit slower paced game. Then
let's do it. Let's adjust to the Major League Baseball side of things.
Why don't we do that in what we call our triple play? We'll talk about 3 things. We might talk about an extra thing actually tonight. But
before we do it, I want to bring this up first.
Please do.
I learned something today.
Okay.
I consider myself a baseball enthusiast. I used to have a giant rule book umpire. It was the umpire manual thing, but it had different plays that could happen. And I was visiting with a customer earlier today who is an umpire, high school baseball umpire, and he's telling me a situation. We always go over situations, and I always make the right call when he's asking me things. It's kind of what we do. Well, I don't know. Anyway,
that is your dream.
I love it.
He's giving you basically like trivia.
He tells me what happened in a game and asks me what the call should have been.
That is your dream.
And he's very good. This dude knows his stuff. All right. So I am I'm sitting there and he's telling me, he says there's a runner on first. No outs. And the runner on first steals second. Foul tip. Catcher comes up, throws it back to the pitcher. Runner's on second base. And he's just going on with the game. What did he miss?
The foul tip. He shouldn't stay on second, right?
That's incorrect. I never knew this. I got to speak up now because I've been doing this for I'm talking low for way too long. A foul tip is technically a batted ball that goes sharp and direct from the bat to the catcher's hand and is legally caught. It is not where's my rule at here? I had it pulled up just a second ago. If a tipped foul ball is caught by the catcher after the ball hits the mask, no. Once tipped, foul
it's
ball
not a
hit.
third strike, right? It wasn't.
This is not a third strike.
Okay.
It doesn't matter if it was or wasn't. This is not a third strike. The first pitch of the at bat. Shoot. It's treated. Now I got to go back. Son of a gun. Here we go. In baseball, foul tip is defined as a batted ball that goes sharp directly from the bat to the catcher's hands and is legally caught. A foul tip is considered a strike and ball remains in play. The rules treat a foul tip as equivalent in every respect to a pitch at which the batter swings and misses. Mind blown.
I would not have known.
I'm like, are you kidding me? He says the manager comes running at him screaming. He says he comes at me and he looked at him and he said, it's $7 for a rule book. You paid me $50 for the game. I can loan you $7. You can get yourself a rule book. I told him, I said,
that's good.
I said, it's a good thing that I'm not coach because I'd want to come out and have a conversation. And if I got your lip, then we'd be in trouble.
But he's so in the right to do that because managers throw the rule book thing at umpires all the time.
Have you ever? I could not believe that.
No, I can't believe that either.
I got another one for next week.
Okay, good.
I got another baseball rule. A crazy rule that would blow your mind. Odd rule that would blow your mind. That you think foul tip? It's foul. Ball's dead. No, foul tip is directly from the bat to the catcher's glove. That's the motion with your hands, like you're raining money, right? Like you're raining dollar bills as an NBA as James Harden at the strip club. That's the foul tip. That's completely different from a foul ball.
I did not know that.
I love baseball.
To me.
I love baseball. I love rules. I love things like that. Mm-hmm. That blew my mind. I couldn't get over it.
If you didn't know it, I didn't know it.
There you go.
Because you know your stuff.
I got another one for next week though that he gave me. It's another crazy one. I had to look up because I didn't believe him, and then we looked, and he's like, "Here, showed it to me," and it's about bunting. We'll get into that next week. All right, so let's get into the Major League Baseball Triple Play.
I have all kinds of stuff related to what you just said. Bunting, odd, crazy things. Uh-huh. Let's start with that.
Let's start with odd, crazy things.
Last Friday, June 14th.
What a day. I feel like that's a special day in baseball history.
It is it's my sister's birthday. It's a Flag Day in the United States of America.
Happy birthday, Jen.
Thank you.
I didn't say you.
Happy birthday, Jen. June 14th was a fairly special day in Major League Baseball because in 1974, June 14th, 1974, a young fella by the name of Nolan Ryan was a pitcher for the California Angels, I would say. Was it California? Had to be California then.
Yep.
Now, this was before pitches were counted, basically. That started in 88. But by Nolan Ryan's account, his pitching coach that day kept his pitch count on like a clicker.
Okay. I'm sure that happened because they were all about pitch counts back then.
And that might not be totally true. Either way, whether it's the exact number that he threw out or somewhere around there, it's incredible to think that Nolan Ryan, on that date in 1974, threw 235 pitches in a Major League Baseball game.
13 innings, was it?
13 innings.
Complete game, 13 innings.
He actually threw 13 games. They won in the 15th inning, so he didn't finish the game.
I mean,
But
why not?
he's in 13 innings, faced 58 batters, struck out 19, walked 10.
That's Nolan Ryan, all-time
Nolan Ryan.
strikeout leader, all-time walks leader.
Mostly because he pitched until he was 46 years old.
Sure.
But either way, yes, all-time strikeout leader, all-time
and the fact that he was
leader.
really good.
He was incredible.
Yeah.
The guy was incredible. He just 235 pitches. There have been a little over 2,100 games this season, and 5 pitchers have thrown 120 pitches in a game in over 2,100 games this season.
Isn't that crazy?
235 that day.
235.
Nolan Ryan. Let's see. Okay, I said all that. What did he do after that? Went on 3 days rest, pitched 6 scoreless innings on 3 days rest after that.
I love old baseball.
Me too.
Here's the deal, but listen.
26 complete games that season. 26 complete games, which did not lead the American League, by the way. Totally different time. We talk about that all the time. We've talked a lot about the pitching stuff going on. You can't stand the way it's being managed right now.
It's not that I can't stand it. I understand it. It's
just
the
hard
fact
to
it's
adjust
hard
to
to
a
adjust.
new way.
Here's the deal, though. I understand that these guys are bigger, stronger, faster. That's what always comes up. And that bigger, stronger aspect of it, the stronger especially, muscles tighter, different. It's a lot more intense things going on in your arm, in your body. So there are. I believe the stronger you are, the more apt you are to get injured. That's why Bartolo Colon can throw for a million years as much as he wants, because he's just a fat, out of shape dude who throws hard.
Is in his gut.
Exactly. Nolan Ryan. I mean, he was never, stealth. He was a skinny little scrawny guy, and then he got a little bigger, whatever. But he was not like some buff Bagwell in shape kind of guy.
Yeah.
But that's just the difference. David Wells, that dude pitched forever. You don't ever remember hearing David Wells being hurt. I truly believe that the fact that you're bigger and stronger makes you throw harder and makes you be able to do things with the ball that couldn't be done before. But at the same time, it does make you more susceptible to injury.
Your joints. It's way harder in your joints. The bigger muscles, your joints have to support, the ligaments and tendons in your joints have to support all that muscle, all that strength, all that movement, velocity from your arm, which is doing something it's not really supposed to be doing in the first place. And then, constantly you're getting pitchers throwing harder, like you said.
If you want to know why pitchers' arms go out and why they have injuries and things like that, just look at some baseball cards of pitchers when they get them in throwing motion.
Oh yeah.
It looks like it hurts so bad.
They're like folded backwards in half almost.
Yes.
Their face looks like they're in pain most
elbows,
of the time. Yeah.
It's just nuts.
You can find some gruesome pitching pictures.
Congratulations to Nolan Ryan, man. That's super impressive. I feel I don't think we'll never be at a point where somebody's throwing 235 pitches or 13 innings for that matter. You have an extended bullpen and things like that, so you don't have to do that with somebody to keep them healthy. However, Nolan Ryan was also somebody unlike 99% of all other baseball players. He played till he was 50 almost. Mm-hmm. That's a different type of cat. Some people are just built differently.
Definitely.
But at the same time, congratulations. That's phenomenal. I kind of want some of that to come back, but I realize it'll never happen.
Moving on to the next thing in our triple play.
Triple play number 2.
You mentioned bunting.
Yes.
A few minutes ago.
Yes.
We have talked a little bit, not really a ton, but a little bit at least, about shifts. Another one of the big things, trends in baseball right now based on the data era, I would call it, that we're in now. Using the data that they have, that you collect from at bat after at bat after at bat, you figure out where guys hit the ball most, especially when you pitch to them a certain way.
Yep.
And you play your infield that way. A ton of guys get shifted now.
Yes.
Right? Not Chris Carpenter.
Matt
Carpenter. A different Cardinal, former Cardinal.
Yes.
Matt Carpenter, current
I like
second
Matt
baseman,
Carpenter way better than I like. He was good, but he's we'll just leave him as kind of a like a Chris Paul style kind of guy.
The other day, Matt Carpenter comes up. They're shifting him all the way to the right. Third baseman's playing like by the second base bag. Matt Carpenter does what people talk about all the time when the shift is on. Why don't you bunt it to the left side of the field? Not even down the line necessarily. Just
get it past the pitcher.
Get it past the pitcher on the left side if they're shifting you right, or right side if they're shifting you left. He lays down a bunt. It's hard enough where it gets past the pitcher, but it's not going hard enough where it's like a regular ground ball, swinging ground ball that gets into the outfield. But it rolls to the outfield grass. There is not anyone close enough to field this ball. Matt Carpenter gets a stand-up double from a bunt.
If that's not a way to get people to start getting their heads on straight and giving this kind of thing a try, I don't know what is. I don't know what else you can see or have done than to say, this dude just bunted away from the shift and he's standing on second without a throw.
If everybody is shifting you and you are not at least working on hitting the other way or laying down a bunt,
unless you're Max Scherzer, because Max Scherzer obviously cannot bunt.
He doesn't have to bunt. He's the best pitcher in baseball.
You didn't see that?
Oh, he broke his nose.
Broke his nose, yeah. And then he came out today and pitched like a maniac.
Yeah, he's like, I'm pitching. Expect me to pitch. Yeah. When they were asking him after that. Anyway, Matt Carpenter, first time gets a stand-up double with a bunt. Second time, home run. That's going to beat the shift every time.
Yep.
Third time, hits into the shift. I think the second baseman was playing like
short right.
Yeah, short right basically. Yeah. And he hit it, beat the throw, an infield into the shift hit for a base hit.
That dude is fun. He's a phenomenal baseball player, and he's been struggling this year.
Yeah.
So to see something like that happen, that's scary for Reds fans and anybody else in the NL Central, because that means Matt Carpenter's about to get hot, and the Cardinals, they're right in the mix of things in the Central. So that could be a bad thing for the rest of the Central.
He gets going. Goldschmidt gets going a little bit more, who has always done that.
Yep.
I expect the Cardinals to be right there at the end of this season. Now, the Reds are on a four-game streak now. They
swept the best team in baseball.
First time they've been swept all year. So I expect the Reds to be right there at the end as well.
I think this is where the Reds come out and win like 8 out of 10 and get themselves right back into contention.
And we've been waiting for that all year.
That's all we've been talking about.
And I really do expect that they have the ability. Listen,
you can see the team come together.
Yes, they beat in this series that they just wrapped up today with Houston, Wade Miley, Justin Verlander, Garrett Cole.
Yeah,
that's 3 of the best pitchers in the league. Period.
Wade Miley and Justin Verlander for sure. Garrett Cole was formerly a great pitcher.
Last year he could have won the Cy Young easily. Great news for the Reds. We weren't even planning on talking about that.
That's okay. I'm good with talking about it, because this Reds team, we're Cincinnati-based podcast, and it's okay for us to break national a little bit and go into a local deal. So, yeah, this Reds team right now, Puig's hitting the ball hard. They're not all falling, but he's hitting the ball hard. He had another bomb today. One the other day. Derek Dietrich is still. I mean, he's not hitting like he was, a month ago, but that's almost impossible to do. Right. Votto's coming around. He's starting to hit the ball way better. He's hitting 320 or something like that since the end of May. You got Jose Peraza starting to hit the ball finally. Where'd that come from?
Thank goodness.
This team is becoming a little deeper in that lineup. Scooter Gennett is really close to being back here.
Yeah.
This team looks like they are primed for some kind of run in early July. And they need it, man. They're young kids. They seem like they really love playing together. They enjoy the game. There's not a guy out there that you watch, because even Puig, that you say, man, you know what? He's just kind of hot dogging it. He don't really care. All these guys look like they really care, and they're having a lot of fun. Even though there's some things, Tyler Mahle got a little upset with David Bell, and then came out and threw a gem. Almost should have got the win today, but due to one bad pitch and the fact that the Reds had to come back in the bottom of the ninth, didn't get the win, but at the same time threw a gem of a game. And he got to go 7 innings. Why? Because he kept his pitches under control. He only threw 97 through 7. He threw 95 through 5 innings the other day. So that's what happens. That's how it's going to be. Get used to it. Get used to it, because that's how it's going to be.
Yeah.
At the same time, I think these Redlegs are primed for something big.
I sure hope so.
Speaking of prime for something big,
yeah.
How about the last part of our triple play? This something big happened to a guy that it's a story you just gotta love.
We're it's funny because we are based here in Cincinnati, and we are big Reds fans, and one of the Reds' biggest rivals is the St. Louis Cardinals. We just talked about Matt Carpenter.
Yep.
I actually would be excited to see him get going because he's such a great player.
I do like Matt Carpenter as a ball player. He's that scrappy dude. He's beating out infield hits into the shift.
Yeah.
So he's that's my kind of guy.
So sticking with the St. Louis Cardinals, I guess it's just going to be a Cardinals day. Sorry, Tyler. The Cardinals called up a player from the minor leagues this week who has spent the last 10 years playing minor league baseball. His first major league call-up.
That's absolutely incredible. 10 years in the minor leagues, never a cup of coffee.
Rangel Ravello has been called up. He's only had two plate appearances. He walked one of them, so pretty good for so far. He's 0 for 1 with a walk. But he has spent like we said, the last 10 years in the minor leagues. That's hard to do. You don't get paid enough really to take care of bills and stuff at home if you have a family and that kind of, usually when you're playing minor league baseball. Now, he was originally a 6th round pick, I believe, of the White Sox. Was traded eventually after a couple years to Oakland, and then was released by Oakland a couple years ago and signed as a minor league free agent by the Cardinals in 2017. Spent the last couple years AAA Memphis for them, and was hitting the ball really well, and finally got his call up. Man, call-up stories are one of my favorite things about baseball. It's one of those things that gets me choked up, and
sure.
Like it's just one of those things because it's
cold
always
chills and everything.
Yeah, it always it's just like the most special thing for a baseball player, right?
Yeah.
And usually they talk about telling their families and stuff, and that's when it really gets touching and all that kind of stuff. But it's just so cool to hear. It's always cool to hear everybody's story. Even when Nick Senzel came up, the whole first game, they're talking to his family every inning, and talking to his dad and talking about how he used to drive him to practice. That's everybody.
Yep.
But anyway, it's a big deal for every single Major League Baseball player. But for a guy to commit his life, his career to the game because he loves it that much after 10 years.
This is love of the game. Listen to this, okay? Minor league baseball, AAA baseball, league minimum, $10,750 a year. You only get paid during the season.
Wow.
You do not get paid during spring training. You do not get paid in the off season. You only get paid during the season. $10,750. Travel per diem, $25 a day.
I could do some damage with that.
AHL hockey, right?
Okay.
The Cincinnati Cyclones,
right?
League minimum, $45,000. $72 travel per diem.
Wow.
Yeah.
That blows me away.
That is why over the last couple of years, and you look at in Major League Baseball, the league minimum is $555,000 a year. that call up means that much to somebody.
Yeah.
You get called up and you're making, maybe that guy's making 20 grand a year. And then all of a sudden you sign a big league contract and you come up $555,000.
Give me $500,000. That changes my life forever. I can make it change my life forever.
That's what gives me cold chills, because that's what you play for. It's a business at that
Money.
point. When you're there for 10 years,
if I'm playing pro ball, I'm strictly playing for money.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is after 10 years, you love the game.
Yes.
But that changes your life.
It really does.
It changes your life to sign the major league contract. That's all. That's huge. And trust me, growing up, that's the only thing I ever wanted to do. But looking at stuff like this, to spend 10 years in the minor leagues and make pennies. These guys, the big guys, live off their signing bonuses. You know, they may get a $30 million signing bonus, but they're only getting 20 grand, 30 grand a year.
And that's first round guys. I mean, that's high. That's high end guys.
You got guys who are going to the minors and they're 15 round draft picks, and they're going down to that. This is AAA. God knows, maybe it's all of minor league baseball, but that's AAA. Who knows what these dudes in rookie ball are making?
There's so much turnover in minor league baseball. We talked about it. There were 1,200 draft picks in the draft.
Exactly. Now, of those, there's probably 600 people that'll be going to camp. But like you said, that's a lot of turnover.
You still have to make room for all those people.
Yes.
There are tons of people who drop off every single year.
You can't afford to be a lifelong minor league baseball player. You just cannot afford it. And that's why these guys last 2-3 years. Their signing bonuses, maybe $100,000 signing bonus that runs out. Your money, you're not making money. I know a guy whose son-in-law played in the White Sox organization, was getting really close, and they were, his daughter was with their baby, was living in their basement because dude was making pennies. But he was so close. He was getting there. It was almost there. Then he got hurt, injured. I don't know what he's doing now, but it's just one of those things where you're making so little money, and they're doing there's a lot of unions trying to get involved in this, and the baseball players associations trying to get involved in it and help these guys out, because that's ridiculous.
I can't believe that minor league hockey players could make up to 4 times the amount that a minor league baseball player makes.
That's crazy, isn't it?
That's incredible.
Yep.
I would never expect that. Now,
so anyway, when I hear these lifelong stories, I think more about that. First couple years, and you get that call up after 3 years or something like that, that's the greatest feeling in the world.
And you're 21 years old.
Exactly. 10 years, you're talking about a 28, 30-year-old dude. Maybe older than that. He could be 31, 32. I don't know how old he is. But to be that old, not making a dime, and then boom, that paycheck's coming in. That is life-changing.
That's awesome. And the great thing for Rangel Rebelo is he was drafted out of high school. He was 18. So he got his 10-year start back then. He's 27 now.
So he's still at a good age where he could still play for a few years.
Exactly. And make, $500,000 for 3 years, and now you're really set.
You don't know what to do with you don't know what to do with your life.
You don't have to eat at Arby's anymore.
Yeah, you got that right. But I'll tell you what, that dude knows how to save his pennies. I guarantee you that.
He does.
He will respect that money more than a lot of other people will.
Another thing, you can commit yourself to a minor league, to playing in the minor leagues, but you also have to be good enough to stay there as well.
Oh, 100%. You're not getting cut without getting cut.
Right. For 10 years, he's a .301 career hitter in the minor leagues. He can hit the ball. If he's hitting 240 for 10 years, he's hitting 240 for like 3 years, and then he doesn't have a job in baseball anymore.
Yep.
So he was good enough. He was one of those guys that was good enough to play in the minor leagues. Never quite there. Never quite good enough or high profile enough, or whatever politics I'm sure goes into some of that stuff too.
There's a little bit, yeah. But if you're good enough to play, you're going to play. You're going to play.
Yes. So he was good enough to be a good minor league player and stick it out for 10 years, and he is now rewarded for that. His patience, his commitment, his work, all the stuff that he's put in for the last 10 years and before that in high school and growing up and all that kind of stuff. Finally rewarded. You want to root for a guy like that. I don't care if he plays for the Cardinals, the Pirates, the Cubs. the Reds, I don't care who he plays for. I'm rooting like heck for that guy. I want to see him do well. Not against the Reds, but in every other game.
Congratulations, Ronell. I don't get to use that enough.
So there you have it. That's the triple play.
All right, so I got one other thing I want to bring up with you.
Yes, sir.
And it's baseball related.
Okay.
The Chicago White Sox have come out, and they have made the announcement today, I believe it was today, that they are, next year, they will be extending the net all the way to the foul pole.
Yes.
How do you feel what do you think about the net? And have we talked about this? I can't remember if we talked about this.
We haven't. As a matter of fact, Steve Snodgrass, very loyal listener, great friend of ours, of the show, and of mine personally, asked us a while ago our opinion on this on Facebook, on our Facebook page, and we haven't addressed it until now, but I'm glad you brought it up.
We got some time, man. Let's take 10 minutes and hit this, because this is something that is becoming more and more of a problem. We talk about bigger, faster, stronger. We've been talking about that a lot today.
Yes.
These hitters the ball is coming off the exit velocity means everything, is such a huge stat in baseball now that people are focusing on it and making sure contact is made at certain points, and strength of these players are ridiculous, and foul balls are hurting people.
Yes.
They are hurting people. It killed somebody last year. They're hurting people it seems like once a week somebody is getting hurt. I was at a minor league baseball game last night in Columbus, the Columbus Clippers, and a guy hit a foul ball, and if there was somebody sitting in the seat where that ball hit, I wouldn't be surprised if that ball broke the seat. It would have done a lot of damage. I don't care if you are a 5-star athlete, you weren't making a play on that ball.
That ball, no.
Absolute missile. Now, how do you feel? What do you think should be done about that? Because what's the argument? Let's do this. What's the argument against it? Why won't people just put the daggone net up?
Because it inhibits the fans' view to a certain point. It makes the game a little less.
So is your
intimate.
view more important? Less intimate?
A little less intimate,
Is
right.
your view less important than your life? I mean, I know obviously people aren't dying all the time, but it has happened, right? I believe.
Injuries,
but people are getting, busted up bad. So I'm going to tell you this. The most expensive ticket in the entire stadium is right behind home plate.
Mm-hmm.
And forever, there's been a net in front of it.
Yes.
And people pay the money for that. And everybody I've ever talked to that sat back there, because God knows I haven't, right, say, yes, when you sit there and you see that net in front of you, you're like, this kind of bugs me. But by the end of the first inning, you don't even know the net is there.
Exactly.
That is everything I've ever heard from anybody. Put the net up, save people's lives. This is ridiculous. There's no reason for it. It's the absolute cheapest thing that any team could possibly do to help the safety of their fans. It can't cost more than $10,000 to put two big old giant nets up.
Cost can't be it, because we see, especially in Cincinnati, and I'm sure it happens all over baseball, there are changes made, remodels, everything, new bars, all the finest things added to ballparks to make the fan experience that much better.
Yep.
Every single year, millions of dollars are put into changing and enhancing the experience for the fan every year. How about safety being the most important?
There's still going to be foul balls. There's just going to be foul balls that were hit really high that go over top of it to make it a little bit easier to catch, not screamers off the bat that scare everybody in the whole aisle.
Yes.
I mean, I was sitting there at that minor league game the other day. There was two kids to the right of me, two kids to the left of me, and their parents were both sitting in the row behind them. I was nervous, like I was going to have to save somebody's life over there.
Yeah. Yeah, and people are put in that situation all the time. And like you said, it doesn't matter if you're Ken Griffey Jr., Torrey Hunter, the greatest defensive baseball players to ever play the game. You're sitting there without a glove, without any,
sometimes not even paying attention.
Right. Yeah, and that's a big problem too. That's your fault if you're not paying attention.
No,
but it's not.
No, that is not your fault.
No, hold on.
Oh, sorry.
It is your fault if you're sitting in that seat and you're not paying attention. Whether you're paying attention or not, you can still get hurt. If you're absolutely laser focused on the pitch, it can still come at you in where you don't have enough time to react and hurt you.
Should you pay attention? Yeah, I think you should.
You have to pay attention. Well, it's your responsibility to pay attention.
It's your okay. I'll give you that.
Seats.
I'll give you that. Even more of a reason that it shouldn't be the fan's responsibility to make sure he's not getting killed at a baseball game. Put a net up. Let these little kids want to sit close to the game. Let these kids play around on their phones or eating popcorn and throwing it at each other, or doing whatever they're doing. That you can't. I don't blame a little kid because he's not laser focused on the game,
right.
And I can't blame a parent. You don't know how difficult it is to take 3 kids to a baseball game and be sitting in a. You want them to get the coolest opportunities and get as close to games as you can, but you've got 3 kids there. This one's over here talking this, screaming this, wanting this, doing this. You can't always be laser focused. You can't. You can't
be laser focused on the game and them at the same time.
You can't do it. So all these people that blame the parents for not being able, that's bullcrap. That's horrible. And if you're not a parent, maybe you wouldn't understand it, but it's not the easiest thing to do.
Right.
And I got 3 kids under 6 years old. It's not happening.
Right.
I'm going to be, because I know that I need to do it. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's not easy.
Oh yeah, no,
it's not easy.
Right.
It can be done, and I would probably force them to. I've never brought them down that close to sit, but put a net up. It makes it easier for everybody. You know what? If you get some grumpy old people, tell them to pay the big bucks and sit behind home plate. Guess what? It's the same view.
There's a net there too.
Same view. If anything, guess what? You're more like the people who sit behind home plate now. It's almost, let's charge more tickets for anything behind a net.
I hope that doesn't happen, but they need to put a net up. A lot of teams have agreed to put up netting. They've extended the netting at least, like to the end of the dugout in a lot of cases.
I believe it has to go to the end of the dugout. Oh, no.
I don't know that there's a rule about that.
You're right. You're right. It has to go to the beginning of the dugout.
Yeah, and a lot of teams
through it have gone to the end of extended it through the dugout.
Right. But we're seeing now that that's not enough all the time.
Most of these ones that are hurting people are down the third base line, down the first base line, 2 sections past the base, 3-4 rows up. Those are piss missiles.
Yeah.
And that is not an easy play to make, especially for a 12-year-old girl who doesn't have a glove.
Right. So, yeah, I'm all in favor of, yes, I would like it a lot better if I went to a game and I sat down there. I've not sat down there very often in the bottom bowl, but if I go, yes, I would rather not have to look through a net. It's a better experience to not have to. But I would much rather have to watch every game through a net than to see someone around me or someone I know or whatever, anybody, a stranger, get hurt badly by a foul ball because it's not possible to get out of the way in time all the time or to stop the ball before it hurts somebody.
Yeah.
Right?
I put the net up. I'm telling you right now, everybody I've ever talked to, that it doesn't ruin the experience. You might go, there's this net within an inning. You will not even know. You will not even know that net is there. Your eyes adjust. You see right through it. There's a reason for it. There's a reason it's been there for years. There's a reason people still pay $250, $300, $500 to sit directly behind home plate. Put the net up. It's getting ridiculous. It's out of control. It doesn't even make sense why it's not done.
Yeah. It doesn't change anything.
And these guys are making announcements like they're going to do it, but it's next year.
Yeah.
Go on you can't tell me go on a road trip for 3-4 days. You can't tell me you can't get somebody in there to put that net up in 3 days.
Right.
I guarantee you can. You want to be the guy who's really making a difference? Chicago, congratulations for announcing that you're going to do it next year. Let's find somebody that's actually going to just come in and put it down. It's going to take somebody dying on scene, because didn't the person that died last year was like 3 days later or something like that?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. In Chicago, was it Chicago? Was it the Cubs or wherever it was? Somebody in Chicago last night got hit, or 2 nights ago got hit.
Yeah. We had the little girl that got hit, a couple weeks ago or whatever, Almora.
Yep.
And he was like...
He was in tears.
He was, yeah.
He was in tears.
It was awful. But, Yeah, there's no reason. I haven't, I've heard people argue against it, but there's no legitimate reason that makes sense.
The two arguments that annoy me more than anything, and they're the ones that I've heard the most, is the net ruins your view. Okay, well, guess what? The most expensive ticket has a net, and so there's your whatever. And number two, we pay too much money to have a seat where there's a net in my view. That's when I say best ticket in the house.
$300 Diamond Club.
Best ticket in the house. And number two, you should have your kids. You should be paying attention, and your kids should be paying attention, and all this should go down. Yeah, say that. I guarantee whoever says that does not have children.
Yeah, you should pay attention, and
100%.
And you should try to teach your children to pay attention too. But their children, they're not wired that way yet.
We're not all. Listen, all the people that go to Reds games are not baseball enthusiasts. And they get tickets in those areas.
Oh, yeah.
That's not on them that they don't know what's going to happen. It could be their first time ever being at a major league game or any baseball stadium. That happens every single day. These people don't know about baseball. They're just like, oh, I've got 3 kids. Oh, let's see if we can get the boys to like this game and maybe go throw some. I disagree. I disagree.
To not understand that the ball is hitting really hard and can come at you very fast. I mean, you have.
I'm telling you, if you're somebody who doesn't pay attention to baseball at all, and they're at games all the time, you sat by them. I've sat by them. They're really there all the time. You're not thinking at all. You're there to hang out, enjoy some company, and watch a game. You are not there to protect your head and anything that could happen. Somebody might be like, might at some point, maybe a hard one comes by and they realize, oh crap, I better have my head on a swivel. Mm-hmm. But that's not fair to them. They don't know. There's a ton of people that go to games for the first time and they're sitting in really good seats and they have no idea what they're about to get themselves into.
There's a little bit of common sense, I think, that has to go into it, where you kind of should be able to figure that out. But I understand what you're saying.
I'm telling you, you've sat by these people. You know people at these games. Their common sense is not even in their vocabulary.
Right.
So but I can't blame them for not having the common sense to know it. That's who they are. I'm not going to blame you for who you are, not being any kind of baseball fan or just not understanding where you're sitting. That's you bought the ticket to go watch the game. And hang out.
In most cases, for people like that, we're probably giving them.
Sure, that's fine. We're giving tickets, and you're right. They probably were given tickets. Even more of a reason for them to not have any idea where they're at, where they're going, what's going on. Sit down there, grab a beer, bull crapping with everybody around you, just having a good old time, and then get hit in the head and night. It's not. Yeah.
I think you should know going into a baseball game. Baseball is not a niche thing. It's pop culture. It's been around for over 100 years. I think people who don't care about it or like it know enough about baseball that you go to a game.
You're giving people way too much respect.
I think I'm sure there are people like that you were describing. I don't think it's that common. I think people that are going to go to a game know enough that there's a baseball that could come into the stands.
Well, sure, they say that before the game. I mean, there's announcements before the game.
Exactly. That's a good point.
Now, half the people aren't there for the announcements. But
exactly. and look, most people.
I don't blame you for that. I don't know what your work schedule is. You can everything that you say that is against this has an easy rebuttal to it.
Yeah.
An easy one. And it's every single one. Put the net up. We agree, and it's a devil's advocate thing. I understand.
Right. There's no reason not to put the net up and keep people protected. There's really no reason. I mean, and you can go all the way down the foul pole.
You know what? You go to the foul pole. I'm good with that. I would have no problem with it. I think if you just go 3/4 of the way, I think if you go 200 feet down and leave 100 feet of open space or whatever you want to do. Some of these stadiums have bump outs. Some of those bump outs are the most dangerous places in the on the field. Mm-hmm. Cover this stuff up, man. There's no reason for it. There's absolutely no reason for these people to be going through this. And I can't believe that these managers, or not managers, but owners are not getting more flack for this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's